Good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm Karen Berchtold, and I'm with the city's Public Works Department. And I'm working live from City Hall this evening. And I'd just like to welcome you all and thank you for coming to this meeting on Becker's Lane Bridge and Streetscape. So we decided to host this additional community meeting using the city's Zoom software because people are most familiar with it. We met on September 23rd and got a lot of feedback at that meeting and since that meeting. And so we've updated the plan and would like to share the proposed final plan with you this evening. And so I think first I'll introduce the folks who have been involved in this project. So on the city's end, I'm planner managing this project, and Joel Grebenek is with us, and he's providing the engineering support. And then Jim Rees is the executive director of the urban renewal area. The consultant who's leading the technical work on the project is OTAC, and Dan Belzer is the project manager and bridge designer, I believe, with us this evening. And Wynn is the landscape architect and public involvement specialist. Newman is project engineer, and Dave Roderer with Clanton Lighting is here with us as well. So just a little bit of background before we jump into a presentation. This project was initiated in 2016 by the Public Works Director, who collaborated with the urban renewal area on funding for the project. The URA offered to provide funding from their TIF funds. And so the project initially involved just the bridge design only over Fountain Creek, Becker's Lane Bridge. And at the second community meeting, the community was quite clear that they wanted to extend the sidewalk all the way up Becker's Lane to the crossing with El Paso Boulevard. And the bridge could not safely accommodate either bike or pedestrian in its current design. And so this relatively short section of Becker's Lane is a really important section of roadway. It's a very high activity area. We have a lot of active and passive recreation facilities. The school district ball fields are on the east side of the road. And so we want to provide safe multimodal access to all folks in the area. Of course, we have the Creek Walk Trail just north of the creek. We also wanted to improve access to Garden of the Gods. And Becker's Lane is an important connector to and from our urban renewal area. And so I would like to share something from our community master plan. And so I'm going to share a map with you. This is a map from our master plan, and it's called Proposed Bicycle and Pedestrian Improvements. And so you'll see that here's the eastern boundary of Manitou Springs, and we have a number of different features that we're highlighting for potential bike and pedestrian improvements. And so we have Manitou Ave in purple, and Becker's Lane is shown in red, actually Becker's Lane Bridge, and that's indicated as a bike and trail connection that we back in 2017 decided merited improvements to be a more functional bike and trail connection. So it's an important connection in our community. And in addition, our master plan has other goals and policies that are relevant to this project. Policies to overall work to improve sidewalk condition and connectivity where feasible, protecting natural features in our community. And it also talks about implementing standards and plans to protect the night sky and reduce light pollution. And so at the project level, we're really trying to balance some of these important objectives as best we can. So I think I'll let Jim chime in, Jim Reese. And I guess I'll just provide a little bit of guidance. Feel free to use the chat feature if you'd like to send us a question or you're having some challenges. We're going to do this more or less in a webinar style. And so we'll provide a presentation first, and panelists feel free to jump in. And then we'll open up the presentation for questions from all our attendees. And the best way to do this actually is to use it's called the raise hand feature that you'll see in your toolbar. And so you can raise your hand and we'll call on you and allow you to speak. And in the meantime, it probably will work best if you mute your microphone until you're ready to speak. So Jim, I'll just let you have a word here.
Thank you, Karen. I just wanted to say that the Urban Renewal Authority is very happy to be able to assist the city financially with this project. As Karen mentioned, we're using tax increment to fund this project, as we have with other projects, including part of the Manitou Avenue renovation park that we partnered with other agencies on. But just a kind of a word on what urban renewal is. Back in 2006, the city formed an urban renewal authority to do redevelopment and improvements in this new East Side urban renewal area. And the area extends all the way from the arch on Manitou Avenue up to Highway 24 interchange, and that would be on the west end. And then on the south end is Highway 24, and on the north end is El Paso Boulevard. So Becker's Lane is about right in the middle of the entire urban renewal area. And now that Manitou Avenue is finished, this is a logical next step, improving pedestrian bicycle access throughout Manitou. So we're really pumped up about it. We think it's a great project. We're hoping to see it happen in the next couple months. And that's all I got to add.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Jim. And so I think now we'll launch into our presentation. And so I'll let Ann take over.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ann Nguyen, and I'm a landscape architect and planner with OTAC. Super excited that you guys have made time to join us again virtually. We really wish this was an in-person meeting like our first two. So, okay, so let me share my screen. All right, can you guys see that? Karen, can you see my screen okay? Good?
I can,
okay,
yep,
great.
I think we're good.
Okay, all right. So most of you are probably familiar with this website already. This is live. You can go to it after this meeting if you want to look back at any of the slides or share it with any of the community members that couldn't make it tonight. This is the general product information that Jim and Karen just went through a little bit. Our contact info is here, and we did also add a frequently asked questions section that was just questions from the public from our last meeting on September 23rd. So you can check back here for that, but I'll be addressing these questions throughout the meeting. So we don't have to go through all of it right now. All right, so like I said, we had a meeting a few weeks ago in September where we covered the process and timeline in more depth. So in this meeting, we want to talk more about the feedback we received from the September meeting and how the design has evolved since then, and how are we addressing your comments and concerns. So I try to be really brief on the overview and existing conditions because a lot of you have heard that from the last meeting, but I think it's important to go through it again. Okay. So as Karen mentioned, the city initiated the design because it's a very active area on both sides of the road. Becker Lane provides a southern gateway to the Garden of the Gods, and we have trails here, and with poor visibility for bicyclists and pedestrians. And okay, so most of you are familiar with where we're at. Sorry. So I kept some of the slides from our previous meetings for those of you that couldn't join. These are just our previous public meetings covering what the feedback was. Okay, so here, this is the view of us looking north of Becker. So Manitou's behind us. We have the ball field and the trail on the right, and you can see how narrow the roadway is, which is a good thing. We want to slow down traffic, but it's not safe when we don't have sidewalks on either side to separate the pedestrian and vehicular traffic. So now we're looking east, standing at the creek elevation, and the existing bridge doesn't clear the flow and currently overtopping the bridge. So we're proposing to make the bridge much wider for more appropriate opening that will allow for water to pass. So here's another view of the bridge from the other side. I also want to point out the sanitary sewer underneath the bridge. There's been major concerns about the capacity of the sewer pipe, so this will be replaced. The water line, on the other hand, is buried under the bridge and will be relocated next to the sanitary sewer under the bridge to allow for easier maintenance and access. This layout shows the existing and proposed bridge layout. We will be widening the bridge from about 20 feet to 35 feet. From our previous meetings, a traditional railing and stone design was the preferred alternative that came out of the second public meeting. Okay. So as I mentioned, the bridge is now widened to allow for more water to flow. And we will be adding a silt fence and erosion control logs at the edge of our construction zone to protect any existing vegetation. And all disturbed areas will be reseeded, and steep slopes will use the erosion control blankets. Okay, so, and then we also have sidewalks on both sides. There's a big difference in what it is now, and lighting and new utilities. So now we're back on the existing bridge and road looking north, where there's a lot of conflict with pedestrian and vehicular traffic. So you can see that your sidewalk on the west side disappears and there's no sidewalk on the east side. Okay, so now we're further down on Becker's Lane looking towards El Paso. We have the skate park on the left and the ballpark and parking on the right. Again, there's no sidewalk, so this guy has to walk on the road. There's currently an open channel here, which means there needs to be a guardrail. So the new design will get rid of that channel and railing and install an underground pipe and sidewalk. Okay, so now we're looking south. You can see the health of the existing trees are being compromised because of the overhead power lines in this photo and the previous photo. All the overhead lines are going to be removed and all electric lines will be buried to avoid this issue for future trees. And since our last meeting, the team has engaged an arborist to evaluate if any of these trees could be preserved, and if they can, are they going to be healthy after and during this construction. So on the east side here, the arborist has recommended that the 10 trees, the Siberian elm, to be removed because of the lack of the proper branch structures. They're eventually going to split because of the harsh pruning that's been done, and just the impact from the construction as well is not going to help. But fortunately, we're able to save 3 trees because they are healthier and not affected by the overhead power lines. So I'll go back so you could, I could point out those trees. So these trees can be saved. There's 3 of them that will do well. The other 2 will need to be removed. And so now we're looking east on El Paso. This photo is taken during the rainstorm where you can see current drainage and ponding issues. You can see that water is flowing straight into the ballpark. So the project will address this issue as well. Okay, so this is the overall design. There will be a new gas line, water line, sanitary sewer, underground electric and cable lines. So as I mentioned previously, the storm sewer capacity has been a major concern. You see it in blue here, the dashed line in blue. So it lines the edge of the proposed trees, and these new utilities had to all be squeezed into the right of way. And these black dots are represent the lighting, and the yellow halos represents how much that light spreads. And before I get into the specifics of the landscaping and utilities, David, can you introduce yourself and share more details about the lighting proposed on the bridge and street?
Yes, my name is David Roeder. I'm with Clanton and Associates out of Boulder, Colorado. We're consulting on the lighting and the electrical design. What we've looked at is to light the bridge as a bit of a gateway and to tie the roadway into Manitou Avenue. So the light fixtures on the bridge will match those on Manitou Avenue. They'll be a little bit lower, and we're hoping to make them a little bit less wattage. We're working with the local utility, Colorado Springs Utility, to supply those. And then for the roadway, we're looking at a decorative full cutoff luminaire. Full cutoff means that it doesn't emit any lighting up into the sky, so it's very dark sky friendly. We're lighting these at the lower levels that we feel are appropriate because we don't want this to be an overly bright roadway. We're trying to control glare and keep the light levels down. The poles on the roadway will be about 14 feet tall. And they're the one on the lower part of this graphic here. They have a shepherd's crook that'll sit on top of a 14-foot pole. And all the light is emitted downward again. The bridge lighting is the acorn light that matches the acorns on Manitou Avenue. And they'll be on the bridge piers on 10-foot poles. So they'll have about a 14-foot mounting height also. That's it in a nutshell, Ann. Did I cover everything?
I think so. And if anyone has any questions, we'll follow up in a few minutes. I just want to go over a little bit more about the landscaping and the utilities. Thanks, David.
Sure, my pleasure.
So as I mentioned, the trees on the west side are protected, and these willows and all these trees on the west side. So the only ones that are being compromised are right here. And they'll be replaced with Norway maples, swamp white oak, little leaf lindens, and we're adding major landscaping revegetation areas and revegetating areas that will be disturbed during construction. There'll be about eight different species of pollinator-friendly shrubs and perennials planned throughout the 500 square footage of new landscaping.
And it looks like we have a question about the width of the sidewalk. Corey Satella mentioned that on one slide, it looked like there was a wider sidewalk. I think that's the right side. And then on another slide, it looked more narrow. So I think Corey is asking what the width of the sidewalk is on the east side.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Danny Bona, but the west side is 4 feet and the on the right side is a minimum of 6 feet. So you can see it in this section here. Gives you a better idea of the layout, utilities and landscaping being proposed. Now there's a lot of information on this diagram, so we can go back to it if you have further questions. So just the ballpark and parking lot is on the right and the skate park is on the left. And these trees on the west side are being protected. These dashed blue lines indicate the right of way. And this is how much room we had to work with to put the utilities in. Here's the walkway. You see the existing gas, water line, and then you start to see how we're meeting the minimum requirements to lay out these new utilities. Here's the sanitary sewer and the proposed storm sewer, and we're trying to give at least 5 feet before we start putting landscape in, especially trees, to give enough room here. And then we have the electric and cable lines here. And the trees are not in the city boundaries, as you can see in the right of way, but in the school boundaries. But the city has decided that they will be providing permanent irrigation and maintenance for the new landscaping, even though it's outside of that right of way. Okay. So on the left here, you see the existing view of the trail crossing, and on the right is a sketch of what we're proposing. So you can see the trail crossing will be located way further north to allow for drivers to have improved visibility of the pedestrians at this turn in the road. And the new design also allows for more space for both cyclists and pedestrians. That way, when they're making this turn, they're able to see. And you can also see the lighting that David mentioned is proposed here, and lots of pollinators. These existing trees will be protected here and here, and these are the new proposed trees here and here. You can also see there's no power lines in this sketch. All of this will be underground. Okay. Okay. Again, here are the trees that we're proposing: the little leaf linden, Norway maple, swamp white oak, and the shrubs. And these are 2 ground covers. All the shrubs are pollinator friendly except for the Russian sage. And these are evergreen and have fall interest. All the perennials proposed are pollinators as well. And we added grasses. That way we have more seasonal interest. Want this to look great all year round, even after spring. Okay, so sorry for going so fast, but I want to give time for everyone to ask questions. I'll let you take it away, Karen, if you see anyone with their hand raised.
There is a question about the trail, but I'll let you get to the trail crossing first.
What was the question, Karen?
So the question is that the attendee is expressing concern about cyclists who come from the east and will have to look behind them before they make a 90-degree left across the road, and is also asking what the standard width for a multi-use trail is.
Ivona, do you want to take this one or tag team it? Typically,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Hi, this is Ivana Dumin. I am a project engineer at OTAC, and I am working on this project. To answer the question, Anne, could you go back to this slide where you are showing the overview of the plan? Yes. So this portion of the walk, which is connecting bike line from most east to the end of the parking on the west side, is actually 8 feet wide. And this is to meet the standard for multi-purpose path. And also what we have done, we made, as you can see, there is a radius over there. So it's more room at this location than just 8 feet. Everything is done just with bicyclists in mind. So it's easier to turn around at this location. That's all what I have to say at this moment.
I hope that answered your questions. Not supposed to be flying down a multi-use path, hopefully, because we're sharing it.
Can I jump in here a second here? One thing we should point out too is trail users coming from the west going east. Right now, it's almost a blind curve that nobody can see you standing there, or you can see anything coming. This new location opens that up quite a bit, and you can see vehicles coming down from the south across the new bridge. So it'll be much better visibility-wise.
Also, I would like to add that right now, at this existing condition, the bicyclists have to stop for the upcoming traffic. In the new solution, basically, bicyclists will have a state law to be first, and the cars and other users of the road will need to yield to pedestrians and the bicyclists in the crossing.
So if you can see my screen, I think this is where it used to be right here, and we're revegetating that old walkway that cuts through this way and moves it down here. So Karen, do you want to go to the next question? I'm sorry, I can't.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
See it while I'm sharing my screen.
So the next question has to do with project construction and where the detour for the multi-use trail will be. Alan is noting that it's a popular trail, and so having a safe alternative will be important.
I can kind of jump in here too. Alan, we are still trying to coordinate with the school district to be able to route the trail through the construction period through the parking lot of the ball field to get from on the east side to get from El Paso to the trail. So that's being worked out. However, the gentleman that I needed to meet with is actually under quarantine right now. So the school district had a little bit of a problem. Hopefully I can get to meet with him next week and we can work that out.
And we have another question related to pedestrian access. And so the question is, what type of pedestrian crossing signage will be used, and will there be any lighting included, like pedestrian signals?
Sorry, I am pulling that up. Can you see that? Can you guys see the sign?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh,
We just
okay.
see the overall.
How's that?
Yep, you're there. It's there. I can see it.
Okay, great. So that's the sign that will be implemented at the crossing. And we're also putting a light here. And you can unmute folks too who aren't typing. I don't know if people are speaking or just typing on the comment box.
Oh, unmute all participants?
Oh, no, just if you have if they're not typing, if they want to speak up or something, that's fine too. But if
Okay.
everyone's just sharing, it's up to you, sharing with comments, that's fine.
And so we have another question regarding lighting from Alan. And so the question is, why was it decided that the lights on the bridge would be similar to those on Manitou Avenue? What's the value of lighting bridge area at night? Is there any consideration of having downcast lighting on the bridge as well? I think I summarized that accurately, hopefully.
It was a request of the city that the lighting on Becker's match the lighting on Manitou for uniformity. Also, the utility has a limited number of options. So we did use those at the bridge, and then we used the more decorative full cutoff luminaires or lighting fixtures rather on the roadway itself. The lights on the bridge, well, all of them actually have an asymmetric distribution in that they project almost all of their light forward so that the light mostly goes onto the roadway rather than behind, in case the bridge, into the natural area below, into the creek below. So most of the light will fall on the bridge itself with very limited spill light behind it. I hope that answers the question. I believe that's what it was.
Hi there, this is Corey. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can.
Is it a good time to make a comment?
Go for it.
Yeah, my name is Corey Sutell. I'm a Manitou resident and a member of PAC-MAN. And PAC-MAN is the Volunteer Pedestrian and Cycle Citizens Task Force of Manitou. We advocate for the safe use, we advocate for and encourage use of safe, connected, convenient, accessible bike and pedestrian infrastructure for Manitou Springs residents and visitors. And we just wanted to say thank you to Karen and to all your staff and to all the consultants and to the elected officials for a chance to weigh in here. PAC-MAN supports the proposal for Becker's Lane, and we're really excited about the new multimodal infrastructure that you're providing. And we think it provides a major improvement in safe access for bikes, peds, wheelchairs, skates, and other users, non-motorized users. The creation of separated space for non-motorized users represents a major improvement in the area and is an example of infrastructure like which we need more of in Manitou. So thank you very much for this. In addition, the visibility improvements for the Creek Walk crossing is also a necessary measure. And so we want to congratulate everyone who's involved with the project and came up with this really good design. And we are really, trees and vegetation isn't really our mission, but we did want to thank you for your consideration of that. We're all residents here, and we appreciate the vegetation and recognize the need to make some changes in the vegetation, and appreciate that you found some vegetation that was supported by the pollinators group and put some consideration into that. So we think that overall the project stands to, help reduce congestion and vehicle travel and emissions because of providing better multimodal access. and we really want to congratulate you and thank you for a chance to comment on this.
Thank you, Corey.
Thanks, Corey.
So Ann, we have a couple more, we have a couple raised hands. Would you like to proceed through the presentation, or shall I let some of these folks speak?
Oh, let's keep on answering questions. I went through the presentation.
Okay, great.
So
Alan, it looks like you had your hand raised, and do you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted a little follow-up on the lighting. I think it's a great improvement that the downcast lighting is being used on part of the project. And, you know, I've lived in this neighborhood within a third of a mile of this bridge for about 38 years. And it's a wonderful area with lots of wildlife. And the more we light it up, the more we lose. And, you know, when we started the URA, it was because it was perceived that Manitou Avenue that section was blighted. And in fact, our neighborhood had a certain amount of blight that's because of the passion of the neighbors, the residents. We've really turned it around, and it's a vibrant neighborhood. And I'm really still cautious and worried about lighting it up and destroying the serenity, especially the people along El Paso Boulevard there in the first part of Becker's. And, you know, the statement was made that the city requested that the tulip lights be on the bridge. And I'm curious, when we say the city, was that the URA requested that, or the mayor, or city public works? Was it Colorado Springs Utilities? Who specifically is mandating that? Because I do think we could have safety and still an awesome project without lighting up that area.
I don't know who specifically put that in, but that was when we started the program quite a while ago. That was one of the directions that we were requested to follow. I don't think that we're trying not to overlight it. Certainly we're using some of the lowest output luminaires, light fixtures that we can.
So Alan, this is Karen. I think initially we were looking at acorn lighting at the whole extent of the roadway, and then we heard feedback from the community, and certainly with our Plan Manitou policies for dark skies lighting, it became clear that that was the best approach. And I think we saw the bridge as somewhat near the commercial area, and then we will be pursuing the opportunity of lower wattage for those lights. Do you think that, will that lower wattage significantly lower the brightness, Dave?
Compared to Manitou Avenue, yes, they're approximately half the output as the light fixtures on Manitou.
And Dave, could you speak to how much of the light on even the acorns? I know they're not considered technically dark sky friendly, but how much actually does go up percentage-wise?
Jim, they put out a little bit, about 5.5% of the light that the light fixture emits is emitted above horizontal, which means it's going up rather than down. So about 5.5%.
Would it be helpful, Ann, maybe if we could look at that image of the bridge with the lighting again?
is this one the one you're thinking of?
Let's see here. That's the one.
And was it stated that those lights would be 14 feet from the ground?
Yes, that's the mounting height.
Okay.
Manitou, I believe, are 19 feet. So we're going to be a little bit lower, and we're going to be about half the output.
Can you guys hear me? I'm Shanti.
Yes, Shanti.
Yes.
I basically do feel that the area from Manitou Avenue down to the bridge and through the bridge is part of the commercial process, because the URA is working on changing the atmosphere on Manitou Avenue. And this is really one of the major focuses of the redevelopment. So I think connecting this first part from Manitou Avenue to the bridge is really the gateway to Garden of the Gods. And so in a way, I like these lights here, but I don't think any lights should go on toward El Paso. But I think from the bridge up to Manitou Avenue really needs to be considered as part of the commercial redevelopment of what it's going to look like in 50 years from now.
Thank you, Shanti.
Actually, while I'm here, can I, the question that I had is that I'm seeing this corner up on Manitou Avenue of Becker's Lane is one of the central hubs of the URA development. And there is a sign that is an old rundown sign of an Indian that's rusted out. What is the relationship of this design as it relates to this old sign? I guess this is to Jim. Are you thinking of fixing up that sign and tying it into Manitou Avenue, or what is happening with the sign as it relates to the bridge?
You know, Santi, I think and there are several signs like that, the old neon light signs within Manitou and several in this corridor. I think that's another project that we might want to address at some point, and whether or not that sign stays. Of course, it's on private property and it's owned by a private owner. But I think it's something worth pursuing, looking into at some point.
Have you, as the designers of this, thought about if that sign is fixed up, will the trees that you're putting in complement what is already there? What is the integration of what's happening on Manitou Avenue at that corner with Becker's Lane?
I guess I'll chime in that was not in our scope. I'm sorry, Santi, we only have 15 more minutes. So I want to give everyone else a chance to ask their questions too, but if you need more questions, you can follow up with me or Karen about that sign.
I think we have through 8 p.m. So we have a few more questions here. Let's see. Oh, Melody. It looks like Melody, you have a question.
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Hi. I'd like to say hello to you and Jim and Ann and David, and thank you so much for doing another presentation for all of us. I have a couple of questions about the Siberian elms, and I do appreciate the willingness to compromise and to come up with some replacement trees. I really like the selection that you've come up with rather than the Tartarian maples and the hawthorns. I really like the tree selection you've got going on now. But yes, those trees right there with the power lines going through, can I ask who the arborist is that you hired to do the site inspection on them, the plant inspection, please?
Sure. The firm is Tall Timbers, if I have that correctly.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay, very good. And then with that, now, because there's like 3 different clusters. You've got that cluster, and then there's another cluster where they're just going to be removing 2 or 3 out of a little Siberian elm patch. And then you go over to the west side as you head into fields, and there's some trees that are being saved there. So I really appreciate the effort to keep some of them, right? I really get that. With this group of trees here, are they being taken out just for the sole reason of the trimming, the poor trimming? And I agree, the trimming has been awful. Is that the only recommendation? I know that one of the previous questions that I put forward, we were looking at that the trees needed to, I think, fulfill a certain requirement within, you know, the space that's going to be offered, that's going to be created. Is that the other reason why they're being taken out also?
So Melody, the main reason why we have to remove them is to put in this, I don't know if you can see my screen, but this proposed storm sewer.
Okay, yes, I can see it. Thank you very much. And you don't have much room there. The other question I had though, is that the parking lot belongs to the school, correct? That whole baseball field in the parking lot?
Correct.
Correct. Okay, so I know that Becky Elder had originally proposed this idea, and I'm just following through on it because I did think it might be a possibility. You've got the proposed electric and cable lines bumped over into the parking lot area. With that proposed storm sewer, is that directly connected off of El Paso and that's the only trajectory you can go? Or is there a way to just run it over in that parking lot also along the electric and cable lines? Or is that not a possibility because of the bridge as you go further south?
Dan or Ivona, do you want to take that question?
Yes, I will try to answer that. Yes, to answer your question, this stormwater is directly connecting to the outfall from the El Paso road. So
Yes.
there is no other connection through this point. And also, it connects way down, exactly basically straight line down at the creek.
Yes.
And other concern with this solution would be, even if there was a possibility of moving physically this to the parking, this is a city infrastructure, and city infrastructure has to stay within the city right away. The electric cables and electric cables are a different story because those are the private companies providing services to the residents, and they have negotiated easements to put their infrastructure on the parking lot.
Mhm.
I hope that answers your question.
Oh, brilliantly. Thank you very much. And I had my suspicion it was, you know, it was what you just described. So thank you for clarifying that. Last but not least, like I said, I like the proposed trees that are coming in. You are saving some of the Siberian elms to closer to the Ave. I'm going to come back. I'd like to address the pollinator habitat. I was looking at the selections, you had pictures out. I know that I had sent some information from Amy Yarger, that's who we're working with the Butterfly Pavilion to become a pollinator district. Were there any changes or amendments made according to her recommendations, or is this just the original pollinator plant list that you had originally created?
This is based on her list.
Okay, very good. Yeah, it went too fast for me. Wonderful. I really like them.
Sorry.
Thank you. I love the grasses. I love the plants. You've got it covered from spring, like, you know, we had talked about, to fall. I think it's going to be really beautiful. And I want to just thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this and work with us and to come with a compromise. Those trees that are going in, I think Shanti Toll was, I don't know if he was intentionally alluding to it, but I'm gonna kind of dovetail where he was, I think he may have been going. Those trees, some of those trees I think were already a part of the tree planting initiative that Mayor Ken Jure, last year we were trying to get in fields and then throughout town. And I think it's just gonna be a real nice integrative look. And I just want to compliment you all on that. Thank you so much. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Melody. Thanks for coming
Thank you,
tonight.
Melody. So let's see, we have a number of chat questions, and Superintendent Elizabeth Demang has her hand raised. So feel free to ask a question or provide a comment.
Are you able to hear me here?
We can.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. We know that in terms of this is property and the access, just wanted to say that we appreciate the collaboration, and if there's anything in terms of just future design and access, we'd love to be a part of that. And thanks for the thoughtfulness, and look forward to, just how this can enhance our students and our families' access to this space. And just thanks again for including us.
You're very welcome. Thank you. So let's see. It looks like we have, let's see here, lots of questions coming through chat. So let me see here. Okay, so Tim Hawes is asking how vehicular traffic will be directed during construction. We do have a traffic control plan. I don't think we've seen that yet, right?
Jim covered it a little bit earlier, but I don't know if you can see my screen right now. So here's Manitou. I'm sorry, this is Manitou, this is Becker's, and we will be routing people along El Paso. And we'll have some closures, trail closures here. So then as a trail user, you would get off on El Paso and around. And hopefully have a pedestrian and bike access through here as well, and for trail users and pedestrians. I hope that answered your question, Tim.
I think his question was more along the lines of, how about vehicles? Can you talk about vehicular?
Oh, vehicles. Oh, that'll be along El Paso. So you go along Columbia Road here and El Paso to get around the construction.
All right, we have another question from Susie Hawkins. And Susie asked through chat if the cut or the curb on the southeast corner of El Paso will allow large RVs to turn better. They're currently getting, sometimes they get stuck or damaged by the guardrail.
Yvonne, you want to talk about the radius on El Paso? Is that what the question is? If this...
You mean the radius in the roadway, I guess. The radius is slightly bigger than it was existing, as much as we could align that with the existing conditions. So it's a little bit, it's better than it was before. And also there's the guide rail, it's basically removed. So I guess it will be easier to maneuver larger trucks in terms of visibility and the safety feeling, not to be adjacent to the guide rail, but the sidewalk, which is much lower than the other feature.
And let's see, a few more chat questions. Sally, I'll express her comment. Well, first she asks how many trees are being taken down, and she wants to speak for the trees. A number of our citizens really value our older trees for their character and their habitat, and yeah. Would you be able to respond to that question, Anne, about how many trees are being taken down?
Yeah, so we'll be taking down the 10 elms along here, and then 2 more south of the ballpark. And then we're replacing all the trees that are being removed to a 1-to-1 ratio. So, and like we mentioned earlier, that was from the recommendation of the arborist.
And so we have a couple other comments related to lighting. One attendee seconds Alan Bellich's comment, I think in support of dark skies lighting on the bridge. And there's another question from Farley about the height of the lamppost.
The lampposts on the bridge are 10-foot posts, and they're on top of a 4-foot pilaster on the bridge. So they have about a nominal 14-foot mounting height. And then we'll be using 14-foot poles for the roadway light fixtures. So they'll be at approximately the same height. The shepherd's crook that they're mounted on will lower them a little bit.
Thanks, Dave.
Sure.
Let's see here. Trying to identify if we have some other questions. So Farley, it sounded like you'd like to give feedback on the traffic control plan and the detour route. Feel free to join the conversation right now if you'd like.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Sure can.
I'm on the URA board. I'm the president of the board, but I want to ask this question as a resident of Columbia Road. And I just wasn't sure if this is the right time to ask this question regarding the detour. However, Columbia Road, the residents on Columbia Road currently are doing a traffic study with the city of Colorado Springs because we have enormous issues due to our lack of signage, tourists going up Columbia Road trying to access Garden of the Gods. So I just wanted you all to be aware of that if you're going to be detouring, which it makes sense to detour people into Becker's Lane via Columbia Road in El Paso, to please be aware that we really have major issues with that. We had a car wreck with somebody doing 65 miles an hour up our road, and our road is 20 miles an hour. They thought that they were going into the garden, and it turned into a huge wreck in somebody's front yard. Nobody was injured. But I just wanted to bring some awareness to that the neighbors in Columbia Road are going to be very heightened about a detour that goes through there onto El Paso. That's all.
Thanks, Farley. So there's several more comments in support of the less intensive lighting approach on the bridge. Our Mayor Graham has weighed in and supports that, and another listener asked if there's any technical reason why we couldn't use the dark skies cutoff lighting on the bridge. Is it because of safety, or is it more aesthetics? Is it a little bit of both? Could you weigh in on the technical side of that, Dave?
Yeah, it's really driven by aesthetics. Lighting wise, we can certainly do that. It is an option. Some people, they want that connection between Manitou and the bridge as a gateway. They also find them a little more decorative on the bridge so that the bridge becomes that gateway. So it's really driven by aesthetics. Also, it's a fairly narrow bridge with that shepherd's crook mounting arm. They'll come over the bridge itself a little bit, which kind of closes it in just a bit.
Oh, meaning that they'll overhang the road a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's see, a couple more comments here. Let's see here if I can kind of summarize this. So the comment is from Bill, with the enhanced traffic on El Paso, will we have more police presence on that road due to the fact that speeders are an issue now? We agree with Farley. Not quite sure how to address that one. You want to take a crack at that, Dole? Do you have any insights on that?
No, I think that'd be something we would need to look, more into, as we have not been analyzing the project from a speeding perspective just yet. We may have to check in with our chief of police to see what he thinks.
Thank you. And let's see. Oh, okay. Just another attendee reiterating support, which she did earlier about extending the lighting on the roadway onto the bridge. And from her perspective, that would kind of set the tone for that lane and would sort of make it more cohesive between the bridge and Becker's Lane to the north. So I would say if anybody feels really strongly about maintaining the acorn lights, which are the type on Manitou Ave, it would be great to know that, because it sounds like we do have some strong support for the more low intensity lighting. Going once, going twice. So I'm not seeing any more input on that particular issue. Let's see here. I would like to call on Danu. Sounds like you want to chime in.
Oh, hi. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit late to the game. My name is Danu Fat, and I'm the chair person of the Park and Rec Advisory Board for Manitou Springs. And I appreciate that you have aligned the crosswalk, because we had previous complaints about visibility and safety and danger concerns for the pedestrians and bicyclists coming around that curve. So that's great that you're realigning that for everybody's safety. And also, I appreciate, my input was that the trees that we plant to replace the trees that are taking out are more of the medium size to large height, to replace the trees and to provide variety. And I'm happy that the list that was provided by one of our local arborist gardeners, and I like the tree selections that you have picked also. I think that will work out well. I was also concerned about the hawthorns that you had proposed on that berm by the skate park bowl. And part of our safety was to allow visibility into these particular areas to try to detect nefarious activities. And then you were just talking about the lights. I would like for all the lights to look the same and have the same kind of low impact as I really don't want our town to be lit up as when I'm leaving town going, the new stretch that they just did on West Colorado Avenue. It looks like a airplane runway, and it's a little bit overwhelming, and it's not very Manitou-like, I guess. So that would be great if we could minimize our lighting and maintain the same acorn lights that are occurring right now in our streetscapes. I think that's probably all my input that I have.
Thanks very much, Danu. Well, let's see. So the mayor wanted to address the lighting, and he suggested that perhaps we could ask for a show of hands for people who favor the reduced lighting versus the acorn lighting. And did we ever determine if we could do a poll? If we're not able to do that, we could just ask everybody who supports the reduced lighting to raise their hand.
I haven't been able to. You may have that control.
My hand is raised.
I actually don't see it either.
Karen,
Okay.
it looks like people are allowed to raise their hand to ask a question. So how about you rephrase the question specifically and ask all those in favor to push the raise their hand.
I think that's a good approach. Okay, so.
And then we'll just count those as for or against, however you word the question.
Sure, okay, so if you are in favor of keeping the lighting as it was shown in the plan with the acorn lighting, which is the same lighting on Manitou Ave, please raise your hands using the raise your hand tool. So let's see.
They're still coming.
They're still coming, okay. Has everybody made their choice there? It looks like we have 6 hands raised. Okay, so.
I think I count 7.
Danu, is
now
your hand still up from speaking before?
I don't know. Here, I'll raise it again. Here, is it up?
Keep it up high, Danu. Keep it up high.
Yes, sir. I got 10 up there. I got 10 of them up there.
Okay, so Danu, you support the lighting with the acorn lights.
Well, yes, low impact lighting.
Oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
Low impact lighting.
Yeah, that's not the low impact choice.
Oh.
The acorn lighting is the more intense choice.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, let me clarify. I want low impact lighting. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
All right.
If I could clarify a little bit, low impact is a little bit of a misnomer. The light levels on the roadway would be nominally the same with either light fixture. It's aesthetic choice. The acorns are the same fixture as the ones on Manitou, but they will have approximately half of the light output and they're at a little bit lower mounting height. But the light level on the roadway, on the bridge, will be nominally the same with either light fixture.
Okay. Well, as long as it's not any brighter than what they put on the West Colorado Avenue, which is horrendous. Well, and it's not so much the light level, it's just that there's too many light poles that makes it horrendous for a lot of us.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that what you're proposing probably would be okay.
Yeah, again, the light fixture itself puts out about half as much light. It's really a different look between the two light fixtures that we're looking at now. The Acorn has a glowy element to it. You see it a little bit more, and that's why some people find it a little more desirable as the gateway on the bridge and to tie it to Manitou.
I guess whatever that we currently have right now in downtown Manitou is what I would be leaning toward. That would be my vote.
Okay, so it looks like have 5 hands raised to support the Acorn style lighting. Let's see, have I got that right? Could you just double check? Oh, more than that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Does that look right, Anne?
Right, and just to clarify, and not to harp on this anymore, and to echo what David was saying, it's more about the shape of the lighting, not the amount of light that we're putting out, because we are trying to do low impact lighting throughout all of Becker's Lane. It's about, you know, what Danu was saying, do we want them all to look the same, or do we want the Acorn for the bridge because it is the gateway? So the votes we're seeing now is just, you're still doing low impact, half the light output as Manitou Ave, but the Acorn. So that's what the hands mean right now.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
So we have 9 so far.
Okay, 9. All right. Okay, so let's phrase the question differently. So everybody, please lower your hand, if you would, please.
I can lower everyone's hands.
Okay, yeah, I can too here. We'll lower it for you. So now we'll phrase the question from the other angle for the other choice. Please raise your hand if you support utilizing the same light fixture that's proposed on Becker's Lane. And so we can see that here. That's the sort of dropped arm fixture with the sort of drop fixture rather than the Acorn. So if you prefer that one, please raise your hand.
Whatever looks the most historic, Karen. I guess that's my vote. I mean, the one that you're showing me on my left looks a lot more historic than the one I see on my right, which looks like it would be in front of a schoolyard raising the flag or something. Is that what I'm seeing correctly?
I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, Danu.
Yes, I'm not quite sure either.
I
I just see street lighting here, and I just see two samples here. One that looks very, a little bit more Victorian, and then the one that looks like a flagpole. Can somebody clarify for me?
The light fixture on top that says bridge lighting is what we're referring to as the Acorn, and that matches what's on Manitou.
Okay.
In style. The one below, which is labeled street lighting, the light fixture itself, which is kind of a bell shape, is correct. And then the arm is the shepherd's crook, or that curved arm on the left. The image on the right, oh, if you could go back one, Anne.
So it's more like this, Danu. I mean, it's drawn correctly. That was,
Oh, okay, 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 great.
You
Thank
know
you,
what I
Ann.
mean?
It's not
So,
the arm on the right. Yes.
so I'm seeing the bridge lighting, which is the top globe, but then below it is the street lighting, which is the arm, which embraces the bridge lighting. So is there any way that we can like make it more, the pole to match more of what is in our town currently? I don't, is that the question? I'm not sure, because the top, the bridge lighting looks, the acorn is okay, but it's just the pole that it's mounted on that isn't okay with me.
The poles will be the same type of poles that are on Manitou, which is a fluted pole.
Yes,
A
yes.
decorative base. So all the poles will be the same, just vary in height.
Okay, okay. So what height would that be on the bridge then, the height of those poles?
The pole overall will be 10 foot, and then
10
there's
foot.
a 4-foot pilaster below, so it's about a nominal 14-foot mounting height.
Oh yeah, that would be plenty light for that, yes. Okay.
So getting back to our poll, it looks like we have 7 hands in support of the fixture proposed for Becker. Do you see the same number, Ann? Do you also see 7?
I do see that.
Okay. So it looks like we have slightly stronger support for the acorn style lighting. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Jim?
I know, Karen, I think I agree. I like the acorn on the bridge. I think it's great.
It's definitely reassuring to know that the light is much lower intensity. So thank you for clarifying that, Dave. So it sounds like that's what we should include in our plan. So I'm just gonna check here and see if there are any other questions here.
How's Biden doing?
I think he's doing well.
Go Biden, vote Dems.
Did I hear that? Sorry. Unmute me.
Get your balance in, y'all.
So I'll just share a comment. Ellen noted that for people in the neighborhood, the lighting is a concern, and some concern about the acorn option again. We have a comment from Mary Ellen saying thank you for considering and keeping some of the old growth trees at least. Many times it's common practice to just take out all growth in favor of new and easy. And it looks like, Ellen, you have another question?
Oh, I just have a comment. I think this informal hand-raising poll was hardly a consensus to go one way or the other. I don't think it was very scientific. I think it was very confusing. Danu jumped in at the end and had a lot of questions. I think it got pretty foggy and confusing. And I think you really have to balance the neighborhood and the feelings of the neighborhood, because it's not all about Manitou Avenue and the gateway to the trading post or something, or the Garden of the Gods. There are neighbors, there are residents who live there, and it's a serious concern with all the light that we're spewing into our neighborhood. And that's just my opinion that, 9 to 7 with that very muddled and confused, is it an acorn? Is it a,
So Alan,
Anything
I
else?
don't want to cut you off, but the vote was about aesthetics, but not the light level. So the light level will still stay low.
yeah.
Does that help?
Well, it's, I think that's where, I guess we'll find out, but the difference with those acorn lights are that they radiate out in 360 degrees, not just on the roadway. And so it is a factor, and we'll just have to see. I mean, a lot of people are not happy with Manitou Avenue. It's kind of divided in the community. A lot of people are more dark sky type people, and you look at the URA, and some people say it's kind of like a prison yard, or what someone else said, like a landing strip for an airport. And I think that the gist of what I'm trying to say is we don't want to have our neighborhood lit up like that. And so whatever subdued transition we can do from the lit up Manitou Avenue as we go into the neighborhood, that's what's important.
So David, correct me if I'm wrong, but the spread of when the intensity of the light are similar.
Yes,
in
the
this
light
diagram. Yeah.
the light that will reach the roadway from either light fixture will be very similar. The big difference is the aesthetics, and also, as I mentioned, you do see the globe of the acorn. So it is a brighter looking fixture. Some people that's good, some people that's detrimental. So that's why it's an aesthetic question. But lighting wise on the roadway, they're very, very similar.
Right. Right, and I know this graphic looks cartoony, but this is based on the lumens of each light, and it's very similar. So it's technically that's I just made David's diagram look pretty.
Yeah.
No, I understand that there's a lot of, the intensity on the roadway would be the same. It's just, just think about holding a light bulb up without a lampshade on it, and you put it out in the street and you can see it 100 yards away. And that's really what we're talking about. And we'll just have to see and hope that it doesn't ruin our neighborhood and ruin the creek walk and all the neighborhood around there.
So we have a couple other comments in chat. The mayor thought that the voting was inconclusive and didn't really intend that as a decision, kind of wanted to test the waters, and suggested could the neighbors have further input on the lighting decision. Is that something we could do within the scope of this project? So let me see here. Also, additional comments from some URA members to match the lighting within the avenue. And comment from Dole that lighting is needed, that does need to be minimized. And I guess I will point out also that there is a transition in the lighting. We have the brighter lighting on Manitou Ave. Then the lighting will be reduced on the bridge, and then we'll enter the recreation area, and we'll have the down lighting. So,
So Karen, it looks like we only have a few more minutes. Do you, it looks like we have 3 hand raised right now. I don't know, we can do it in 3 minutes, but we can try. We can, I think Sally has a question.
Go ahead, Sally.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me? No.
We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, my question is how many street lights are on Becker's between Manitou Avenue and El Paso right now? How many are you adding?
We are adding, there's only, I believe there's 2, there's 1 or 2 Cobra head style street lights, which are the classic street lights. I know that there's one at the pedestrian crossing by the creek.
So there's only
So
one?
Sally, I don't know, you can see my screen right there.
Yes, so is that only one on that street?
I believe so, yes.
So that's adding a lot of lighting to that street.
It's certainly adding locations and it is adding lighting, yes.
Thank you.
And let's see. We have Melody. You have another question?
Yes, well, question and observation. When I was my initial response this time, and when I was looking at this a couple of weeks ago, is there a way, because that Becker's Lane is really a short distance, and I have to agree with everybody that the transition from the Ave where it's just lit up, like it's just too lit up, and then as you transition to El Paso, it is the neighborhood, it's much softer, it's much quieter, the noise of the light isn't very loud. Is there a way to just, instead of having 4 lights on the bridge, to reduce to just 1 on each side, because it's just a small area, small section. I was looking at the radius, and that would be pretty bright with just reducing it down to 1 in each side. And then could you bring up yeah, here we go. And then, so 1 on the bridge, and then you come down where the proposed storm sewer sign is, the next light there, that one would of course stay there because of the walkway. Then the next one where the crosswalk, that would stay. But is there a way to reduce, then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 more lights going from the proposed walkway to El Paso. Is it possible to reduce just the amount of street lights there to just 1 on each side? Because that road is really is short. And I think it's just too much. I think that just that amount of light is gonna make it, it's gonna make it just like the Ave. And I really want to put a plug in for, I know when I drive through there, I love that darkness. There's lights, but it's not much. And I do have to put a word in for just, the light pollution and how that negatively has an impact on the reproductive cycle of plants, of animals, of pollinators, where it's just constant. And it also, there's studies that are made for people that we really have to reduce the amount of artificial light that we're always exposed to, just from a human health perspective. So those were just some of the observation, and it's just a question, can we just reduce the amount of poles?
Yes, we can, and we have looked at all of those options. We've looked at on the bridge having 2 poles, either catty corner or in the center, and we have looked also at reducing the numbers of the crosswalk to the parking lot and El Paso Boulevard.
So Karen, maybe it'll be helpful to post an updated lighting plan, or once we get a few things approved, these fixtures that are lower level, maybe we can post that on social media and post that on the website and send the e-blast to folks that are on our e-blast. And if you want that email, please add your email to this, you can add it to this web page that we're on. I have a comment section. You can add your email, or you could just do it in the chat box, whatever's easier for you. And we'll just follow up that way. Do you think that sounds okay, Karen?
Dole, do you think that sounds like a reasonable approach?
Yes.
Okay. Sure, because we have several different options. So we can provide graphics to support those and have a brief period for people to provide comments. How does that sound? All right.
So we're a little past 8, and I just want everyone to know that they can, if you, the next few days or so, if you have any more comments, please add it here. We'll get it. You have my email also on this website and Karen's email. So don't hesitate to reach out.
So I think we've responded to everybody's questions. That was a really great discussion and very much appreciate your input. So we have made a recording of this evening's meeting that we'll post on the website, and we'll provide an update to you on the lighting and provide you with an opportunity to weigh in. And thank you very much for participating this evening. And have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.